All right. Looks like we're live. I hope. We'll see. Well, what a match. Man City versus Arsenal. Final score 2-2. And goodness, I mean, this was a great Premier League blockbuster. Best two teams in the league. I don't think there's any real question. I think Liverpool are like a distant third at this point. These two teams are fantastic, and this battle, this rivalry, has been growing. It's kind of unfortunate that Pep might be leaving at the end of this season, especially with those charges hanging over Man City. A whole different topic of discussion, obviously, but this is a fantastic rivalry between these two that's growing. Credit to Arteta for being able to sort of take over the mantle that Jurgen Klopp had in terms of pushing City to the limit. He's doing a fantastic job at Arsenal. It's amazing how many people wanted him sacked a few years ago. But we're going to talk about this game because I think it was so interesting. It had everything. Really had pretty much everything. And I know it really did. It had everything. A red card, an absolute wonder goal, a very late equalizer, some refereeing mistakes, a little bit of controversy, a lot of quality, some interesting tactical things, some boneheaded moments. I mean, it really did have everything. So let's go through what happened in this match, and then I've got some ideas for little extra videos to do on this game because it was pretty meaty. There was a lot going on. So let's just start from the beginning and kind of I'll just kind of sort of put together the sort of series of events and how I just viewed the match. So we're less than 5 seconds in, and there's already a stoppage of play because off the kickoff, City go backwards. Havertz starts to run forward, and he collides with Rodri. And, I mean, not a whole lot in it, but, I don't think anything that you would want to say, really punish Havertz for, at least not that I saw. But it just set an immediate tone, right? City players were annoyed right from the start. The referee's got something to deal with, 5 seconds into the game. If you're Michael Oliver, you're like, oh, God, already. So that happens. Rodri's on the floor very, very quickly and gets up, and then we start to play. So pace of the game's good. Both teams, doing everything they can to press each other and snap into tackles and things, and it's going well. And then a ball comes into Savinho on the right-hand side. Calafiori, who gets his first start for Arsenal, just goes in way too quickly, really dives into this ball, and Savinho just rips him apart, just cuts inside, takes him on, beats him, easily gets through, and now there's a problem, that transition moment. And Savinho does a really good job of driving central and then playing a ball right into the channel, right into the path of Erling Haaland, who is between the two center backs. And the ball is just so good that he's able to just sort of run forward and just toe poke it in. One touch. And that sets everything on its way. And it's 1-0, and he gets his 100th goal for City. It's just an insane record. Just keeps beating his own records pretty much. And it's good because it gets the game going. I think the worst thing you can have for a game like this is that no goal is scored early, that you have to wait, because both teams just are going to get more and more cautious as the game continues to go. So then the next major moment is Rodri's injury. So Rodri he gets sort of tries to run across Thomas Partey on a corner kick. Partey just bumps him. It seemed like the way that Rodri's foot planted into the ground, it jolted his knee a little bit, maybe buckled, and he had to come off. So hopefully for him, this is not a serious injury. I know he's been under a lot of scrutiny this week for the comments about a strike, and actually I did make a video about that, kind of debunking it. Although, let it be clear, if you do watch that video, don't think that I have any issue really with the players. I think that they say things, and unfortunately for Rodri, it's like the week that he says this, he gets injured, which also, unfortunately for the narrative, people are just going to jump on that. But anyway, Rodri gets hurt. Kovacic has to come on. And then very, very, very soon after, Arsenal equalize. And it's Calafiori basically making up for his error on the City goal, where he just dove in on Savinho. Here he scores an absolute blinder. It's terrific. But there is a problem. There is controversy regarding this goal because there's a foul in the middle of the park, and You can see Walker had a problem with this. He, as everyone's sort of tracking back, he points over at the referee like, hey, the free kick is not being taken from the right position. It was about 8 to 10 yards too far forward. And that's a small detail. But if you're City, you're like, hey, they should back the ball up. But Michael Oliver was walking. If you watch it, Michael Oliver's walking away, and then he just kind of puts the whistle in his mouth, blows, and turns around like at the same time. At this point, it's a very obvious pass out to Martinelli, who is wide open. He drives forward, cuts it back, finds Calafiori, and the finish is outstanding. It's absolutely terrific goal. It's strange. Graham Lasso on the commentary, if you saw this game on NBC, if you're in the United States, Graham Lasso questioned whether or not Calafiori actually meant to shoot. He was like, well, he might be just lucky because this seems like maybe a mishit cross, which I don't see that at all. I think it's just a brilliant finish and a terrific goal. And just again lifts the mood of the game. It just made it even more interesting, even more fun. And yeah, I mean, it's great to have moments like that because they're, the other goals were all different, right? You have one directly from a set piece, one that's sort of second phase of a set piece, that's the late equalizer, and then you have Haaland's goal. So it was nice to have this one thrown in there. It just made the game that extra little bit more special. But a little bit of controversy surrounding that one. I just don't think too big enough of a deal. Pep was actually furious when this went in. It was pretty hilarious. He went over and he just absolutely mullers his chair, just kicks into it so hard. All the guys around him are like, you all right, bud? So his reaction said a lot. They were really angry with the referee. There was a flurry of yellow cards. It was kind of crazy. And then we get into the point where Arsenal really start to take over the game. I thought they played much, much better after they had equalized. They were, I thought, the better team, and they got a corner kick, and you got to see what Arsenal do. And they are, right now, to me, the most compelling team to watch on corner kicks and set pieces, mostly corners, because they're so dangerous. I mean, we saw it against Spurs, and we saw the same thing today. One of the things, if you watch Arsenal, what they tend to do is they stack the far post with like 4 guys. They all run across into the 6-yard box at the same time. 2 go behind the goalkeeper to sort of create a block, and then they just stop so that he can't go backwards to reach for a ball. The other 2 sort of run in front of the goalkeeper into the 6-yard box just in case the ball's a little lower and they can head it in themselves. What that does is when the 4 players go, defenders track them, and it leaves the space for Gabriel to basically just overlap the 4 of them. And if you watch both corner kicks, it was fascinating to see these replays. As the Arsenal players run, this alleyway just in the backside of on the back post just opens up, and Gabriel just steams through it. Now he's big, powerful, and he's at full speed, so he's going to jump up and win this header. And the first corner, he just somehow misses the target. I sort of found out why he missed the target on the first one when he actually scored. Because then they did the exact same thing on their next corner kick, and he jumps in the air and he actually spins and turns around. I think the ball went like off the side or back of his head and went in. That's kind of why he missed the first one, because he didn't really, make sure he's heading it in on target. He's just bulldozing his way in and being so big and powerful that no one can stop him if he's the first one to connect with the ball. That's what happens. He scores, and it's 2-1 Arsenal. And it just great to watch on set pieces. They are going to score a lot of goals that way this season. Gabriel is worth having in your fantasy team. I've got Saliba right now, but he's never going to score. I don't think Saliba is ever used in that capacity. It's definitely Gabriel. So just something for me and any of you to keep in mind. All right, so moving on. This is another big point of controversy. Leandro Trossard gets red carded right before halftime. Now, his first yellow card is completely fine. I mean, He's tracking Savinho. He grabs his shirt. He pulls him back. This is a yellow card, right? No complaints on that one. Now, when you saw the second one, right, ball's up in the air. Bernardo Silva looks up, sort of turns his back. Trossard runs in and bumps him in the back. And a lot of people thought, well, that's, the yellow card. It seems really harsh. That's what I thought at the time. At the end of the game, we actually found out the clarification on this was that he got the yellow card, the second one, for actually kicking the ball away. So when you see the replay, he jumps up, bumps Bernardo Silva, and the ball bounces down. and he hears the whistle and just smashes it, right? He doesn't do what he would normally do. What he would normally do is just continue to play, control the ball, dribble, whatever. But he just smashes it, like just hoists it up in the air. And that is when you see the referee actually then sort of stop, go to his pocket, pulls out the second yellow card, and off goes Trossard. And for Arsenal fans, this must be getting really annoying. This is the second red card that an Arsenal player has gotten for kicking a ball away, right? Declan Rice against West Ham a couple weeks ago, where he just kind of flicked the ball away to the side, and he got kicked in the ankle, and he went down, but it was because he touched the ball away that he was yellow carded. So they are definitely clamping down on that. I don't think that Trossard did much wrong, but again, it's letter of the law type thing. They ended up giving him the second yellow, and he goes off. And I want to say, like, it's kind of a funny thing that there's certain people saying, like, this is not good refereeing. The referee should be able to understand, like, you don't want to send someone off in a game like this because of that. And I think referees are just in a tough spot. I don't really know. I really have tried to figure out how I genuinely feel about this, but they kind of have to have a pretty tight leash on players kicking the ball away after the play and giving them yellow cards. Because, yes, there are moments where you're like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. But then there are moments where it can, really break up a promising moment to attack. A ball's on the floor after someone gets fouled. The attacking team runs up. They set the ball down. They're about to kick it, and the guy just gives a little poke away, kind of like Declan Rice did. If you haven't been booking people for that prior in the game, it feels like wrong to do it at a different point in the game, right? You have to be consistent. And so referees, I think, are in a tough position on this one. And I will say, I coached U8 kids and like 8-year-old kids, and there was a sending off for an 8-year-old against a team that we played a few weeks ago. And it was the exact same thing. I mean, the kid just kept kicking the ball away, and he got in trouble. So, look, I don't know. I just think it's unfortunate for Trossard. He probably should have known better, and that's the way that rolls out. So, we get into halftime. It's 2-1 Arsenal, and the second half, is going to be a barrage of City just basically attacking the entire time and having the ball. And it was even more of a deep block than I thought it would be. Arsenal dropped so deep. They actually played basically a 6-3 formation with their back four, then 2 coming back to help them out. So they had 6 across and then 3 in front of them just kind of moving around. And City played right into their hands the entire half. I mean, it was wild to watch the exact same pattern just continuing and continuing and continuing for the whole entire half. City going side to side and really looking out of ideas. The fact that Mateo Kovacic is the one that was taking the amount of shots that he was, and Ruben Diaz as well. And Ruben Diaz is the player that had the most amount of touches for City in that second half. Haaland was basically just invisible. Right? They could not get him the ball because he had 4 players around him all the time. And it just made it really, really difficult. Now, City, in my opinion, played straight into Arsenal's hands. What you do in this scenario, in my opinion, is you put 2 guys way out wide, right? Way out wide on the sideline, and you have them beat players 1v1 and cross balls low into the box. How many times did you see a Man City player just drive a cross across the 6-yard box for anyone to tap it in? You almost did not see that happen. And I just don't understand why. Basically, if you watched City, they would sort of move left to right, but they didn't have 2 of their wingers pinned way wide. Now, you would think if you want to go 1v1 and take people down the byline and cross it in, Doku is a good option to have. Instead, he gets subbed off. Foden comes on for him, which I think is good because Foden can shoot the ball from range. You don't want Mateo Kovacic 20 yards out lining up right-footed and left-footed drives. Believe me, I'm a Chelsea fan. The guy can't score goals unless he gets real lucky. He's the blind squirrel that finds a nut once in a very, very long while, but he's not who you want taking shots. Neither is Ruben Diaz. Is it worth it to have Diaz and Akanji when they're basically playing 30 yards from the Arsenal goal the entire time? So to remove Doku for Foden, I felt like was a little weird. It's like keep Doku on and have him in the wide area where he can take someone on and beat them in the byline. Grealish then comes on. He came on for Savinho. Fine, like for like switch, but I think having a lefty on the left side would have been smart. And then obviously Stones comes on for Walker. He ends up getting the goal. It was just maddening to watch City struggle so much to get at Arsenal. And I kept thinking to myself, get players wide, beat guys down the byline, try and cross it in. And I was talking to my friend. I was like, this is why they're not going to score. It's just not going to happen. And then Jack Grealish gets a ball, takes on, I don't know who, I think it was Ben White. Takes Ben White down the sideline, crosses it. Arsenal clear the ball out for a corner kick. They're all like pumped because they blocked this cross coming in the box. Grealish sets the corner down, plays it quickly, gets it back. He drops the ball into Mateo Kovacic, who once again shoots. And once again, it's not a very good shot. It's not in the corners or anything. But because there's so many people there, I think Raya makes a save, but he's got players all around him. Ball drops down. John Stones is there to tap home the rebound. And in the 98th minute, City equalize. A lot of people said Arsenal deserved to win the game. Well, okay, I think Arsenal did very, very well defensively in the second half. This was a picture-perfect low block, but City did not do anywhere near enough to test it. And I just think they were unwise in the way that they were attacking, and I think it really helped Arsenal, made Arsenal look much, much better defensively than they needed to be, made them more comfortable. And in the end, City do the simple, basic wing play thing one time, and it ends up delivering. So I look at it as City did not do the right things offensively in the second half to create more chances. The fact that they kept prodding and probing and end up getting an equalizer, you have to say they deserved that. So a 2-2 draw feels fine to me. Doesn't feel like anyone really got robbed. For Arsenal, I mean, they're going to feel gutted. There's no way they don't. And I think Arsenal fans should feel very, very good about their team. Arsenal were very good today, and they have improved every time they've played City, and they just keep getting better. And so if there is a year, if there is a year, who knows? Just because you don't know how long Guardiola is going to be at Man City, but this is a very good opportunity for Arsenal. I think they are looking more and more ruthless. They're looking better and better defensively. And it's only a matter of time now before City's dominance at the top is ended. And I think that Arsenal are the team in pole position to do so. We'll see how they deal with not having Odegaard for a while. Just different things. And Man City, we're going to see what happened with Rodri. And if he is able to come back soon. If not, is Mateo Kovacic going to be able to handle the load? I would think so. But this is going to be it's going to be a really good Premier League season. This game was finally the first real major clash between the big guys, and it delivered. It was really fun to watch. From a neutral perspective, I had a great time. I mean, the intensity of it, it just grew and grew and grew. Unfortunately, I think Michael Oliver kind of lost control super early on. But some games are just meant to be kind of crazy. And there's not a whole lot referees can do to keep to keep it all bottled up. At some point, the tension is going to be really high. I think this was a clear example of a match that had a lot riding on it. And, just a couple things need to happen for players to start to get annoyed. Obviously, conceding goals, fouls, controversial moments, a red card, and then the whole thing kicks off. But it was just a fun watch. And this is one of the poster type games for the Premier League. Just such a good example of the kind of matches that you want between the big clubs. You don't need scintillating football nonstop and loads of goals. It's really fun to see a gritty, a fight, a tactical battle that also delivers big moments, right? It sucks when these end up 0-0. But credit to Calafiori for getting us goal of the weekend probably. And a fantastic match. So, quickly, just to go over some of the other matches in the Premier League, because we're recapping this game, final match of the weekend, and I just want to go over a few of the others. First one is Chelsea versus West Ham. Chelsea looked pretty good. West Ham looked pretty bad, especially in the opening 15 minutes of that game. And Chelsea win 3-0. Cole Palmer on the board. Nico Jackson starting to silence some of his critics. I think that was really, really good for him. Really enjoyed that. And then moving on, let's take a look here. We had Aston Villa coming back from 1-0 down to beat Wolves. Ollie Watkins still getting goals. Morgan Rogers, one of my favorite new players to watch. I really, really like him a lot. So they win 3-1. Fulham wins 3-1 against Newcastle. And Newcastle, finally the bubble burst. They don't play well, and they're actually beaten. They've played poorly in some matches and found a way to win them. But here they don't. They lose 3-1. Fulham having a pretty decent go of it right now. Leicester, Everton 1-1. Everton once again getting a lead and once again not able to hold on to it. They're in trouble, but at least this time they didn't lose. Liverpool beat Bournemouth 3-0. I was watching this match, and Bournemouth took a lead, narrowly offside. Semenyo was narrowly offside, and then immediately after, Liverpool just go and take a 3-0 lead by halftime, end the game. Luis Diaz with 2. Southampton, Ipswich both draw 1-1, and not a result either needed. They can accept having a point, but both wanted to win. Spurs come back from 1-0 down in opening 20 seconds from Brian Mbeumo with an unbelievably beautiful goal for Brentford. Spurs come back, win 3-1. Brennan Johnson silencing some critics. Dominic Solanke as well. Good to see James Maddison getting on the board, so Spurs going in the right direction. And then Palace Man United, a game that I did watch. I love watching games that are at Selhurst Park. The crowd's fantastic. The intensity of the games are always really good, but Crystal Palace have some work to do. Oliver Glasner needs to find a way to make this team a little bit more dangerous. They just don't have a whole lot in attack. They were able to create some chances, and Onana made an absolutely amazing double save at one point. But, I think Man United were the better side in that match and probably should have won the match, but in the end, Crystal Palace, tough place to go and win, and so, not a horrible result for United. And I do think a much better performance that Erik ten Hag can sort of hang his hat on is this is better. So, Man United fans, I think, though the result is not what you guys would have wanted, I do think that the performance was much, much better, and from start to finish, really. And then this morning, we have the 2-2 draw between Brighton and Nottingham Forest. And Nottingham Forest continue to sort of nick results. This was bizarre. There were actually a couple interesting talking points. First of all, Danny Welbeck. Who knew that he could hit a free kick as well as that? Goodness, what an absolutely beautiful goal. But then Nottingham Forest equalizer after that in the second half was terrific. Just really nice interchange of play and a little up back through. They get behind. They equalize the game, and then huge moment of controversy. This was hilarious. Morgan Gibbs-White comes in with a full-blooded, old school tackle. I love this guy, by the way. I love Morgan Gibbs-White. From when he got his initial debut at Wolves, I just love the way he played, his intensity. I think he's high quality, and I think he made a good choice by going to Nottingham Forest because it's where he's really going to get minutes and the ability to sort of become the leader type player that he is. I'm glad he got his England cap. So he goes in, slide tackles. I mean, honestly, it was pretty reckless. It's probably a yellow card. He gets his second one. He's sent off, and all hell breaks loose. Both managers get sent off. I'm not entirely sure why both, but they must have said a lot of stuff. And yeah, just chaos. And then for the next about 10 minutes or so, Nottingham Forest had to defend their goal, and Brighton couldn't break through. So great result. Really, really, really great result for Nottingham Forest against Brighton, who are obviously a very difficult team to deal with. They're difficult to play against, and they're fun to watch, but they do concede goals, Brighton. Now, they score. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I think how both teams end up this season. I think Nottingham Forest might be better than some people initially thought they would be. A lot of people don't think that Nuno is all that good of a manager, but he's done well with them so far. They were safe last season, and they've got some good results this term so far. All right, well, that is the Premier League roundup, and especially the recap of so far the big blockbuster game of the season, Man City versus Arsenal. Onward with the Premier League. At the moment, I see Liverpool as probably the third best team in the league. I think that Chelsea and Man United are going to really have a fight on their hands between each other for who gets that fourth spot. Chelsea, I think, do look good enough to really contend for that this season. Obviously, we will see. Chaos is never far from around the corner for that club. And then, of course, with Man City, I think the big question is, how do the charges in this whole trial thing end up having an impact more than anything on Guardiola and whether he decides to stick around at the end of the season? And as I said, I would love to see him stick around for him and Arteta to continue this battle that is currently growing. It's really fun to see the rivalry between City and Arsenal sort of coming back to where it was when Man City were buying all of Arsenal's best players in the late Wenger years. So thanks for stopping by to everyone who did. Really appreciate it. Feel free to share some of these videos and check out the video that I just put out this morning on the players going on strike, playing too many games and everything. I have my own sort of view. It's kind of a debunk video. Obviously, I do understand the players are stretched pretty thin, but I think some of the complaints that they're making are not exactly at least handled the right way, and I think the media really likes to gaslight people on this issue. I may be wrong about some things, but go ahead and check it out and see what you think. So thanks for stopping by. I'm Sebastian North. This is Campfire Football. Have a lovely Sunday. Take it easy.